The wind howled across the frozen wasteland, carrying dust and pieces of metal through the air. The ground was covered in ice, cracked like shattered glass. A single human walked through the storm, his figure half lost in white mist. His name was Ethan Ward, a scavenger and explorer from a forgotten colony. For days he had followed a strange signal, faint, broken, repeating every few minutes. It was not human. It was something older, something calling for help. Ethan's visor flickered as his scanner beeped again. The signal was close now. Just a few more meters, he muttered, his breath turning to fog inside the helmet. The wind pushed against him like a living thing, biting through his suit. But he kept walking. When the snow cleared for a moment, he saw it. A village, or what was left of one. Black metal towers bent and frozen, houses burned to skeletons of steel, and everywhere, silence. Only the storm spoke. Ethan stepped into the ruins, flashlight cutting through the dark. Alien writing covered the broken walls, glowing faintly blue. He didn't understand the language, but he could feel sadness in every symbol. The ground was littered with strange armor and silver bones. Whoever had lived here had died fighting. Then, through the static of his scanner, he heard something new. A heartbeat. Weak. Faint. Alive. He turned sharply, scanning the wreckage. His boots crunched against ice as he followed the sound to a half-collapsed building. Inside, under twisted metal beams, lay a figure. It was a woman. Not human. Her skin was pale, almost glowing with a soft silver light. Long white hair spilled across the snow like silk. Her body was covered in frost, her clothes torn, but her eyes were open, glowing faintly blue. When Ethan knelt beside her, she tried to move, but her body trembled in pain. "Stay still," he said quickly, taking off his gloves to check her pulse. "You're freezing." Her lips moved, struggling to form words. The language was strange, but then she switched to broken English. "You human?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, who are you?" She looked at him with eyes full of fear and pride. "I am Lyra, last of the Violorian clan." The name meant nothing to Ethan, but the way she said last made him pause. He looked around, the battlefield, the ruins, the silence. It was all gone. Everyone gone. What happened here? He asked softly, her voice cracked. "Machines turned on us. My people gone. Only me now." She tried to reach for a small device beside her, a glowing crystal wrapped in metal. "This holds them. Memories, DNA. Hope." Ethan frowned. "You mean your people's data? A record?" She nodded weakly. "If it dies, my clan dies forever." He looked at the crystal, glowing faintly, its light fading like a dying star. His instinct screamed to leave. This place was dangerous. The storm was growing stronger and his oxygen was running low. But then he looked at her again. This alien woman lying broken in the snow, her breath shallow, her fingers clutching something that carried the last trace of her entire race. Her voice trembled again. "Human, save me. Save my clan." Ethan blinked. "Save you? I can barely save myself out here." She turned her head toward him, eyes meeting his through the snow and dark. "I will give you what humans want, a legacy. I will bear you strong children, children of two worlds. But only if you save my clan." Ethan froze. He thought he misheard her. "What did you just say?" Her eyes didn't waver. "You are human. You fight for life. I am last of mine, together, maybe both live." It was madness. He was just a scavenger, not a hero. But her words hit something deep in him, something he didn't know still existed. Hope. The storm screamed louder. The scanner beeped again, multiple signals approaching. Machines. He could see red lights blinking in the fog, moving closer. He cursed under his breath and lifted Lyra into his arms. She gasped in pain but didn't resist. The moment he touched her, he felt how cold she was, like holding a dying flame. "Hang on," he said, tightening his grip. "You're not dying today." He ran through the wreckage, snow flying under his boots. Behind them, the machines broke through the ruins, spider-like drones with glowing eyes scanning for life. Their metallic legs clicked like knives on glass. Ethan ducked behind a collapsed wall and fired his pulse pistol. The shot hit one drone, exploding it into shards of light. But more appeared, dozens of them crawling closer. "Not good," he muttered. "Not good at all." Lyra's voice whispered against his ear. "There. East side cave. He looked through his visor. Yes, a heat pocket nearby. Shelter. Without thinking, he sprinted toward it, heart pounding. The drones followed, red beams cutting through the blizzard. One beam grazed his shoulder, burning through his suit. He bit back the pain. Inside the cave, he set her down gently and threw a thermal blanket over her. The drones stopped outside, their sensors confused by the rocks and storm. Ethan sat down, breathing hard, the sound of metal fading. For now, they were safe. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes dim but still alive. "You stayed," he nodded. "Guess I did." A faint smile touched her lips. "Then maybe my clan still has a chance." Ethan leaned back against the cold stone, staring into the storm outside. He didn't know why he stayed. Maybe it was her eyes. Maybe it was that strange promise. But deep inside, he felt something he hadn't in years. Purpose. And as the storm roared outside the cave, Ethan didn't realize this night would change the future of both species forever. The cave was silent except for the soft crackle of Ethan's heater and the distant storm outside. The wall shimmered faintly from the glow of the alien crystal resting near Lyra's hand. She lay wrapped in the thermal blanket, her skin still pale but no longer frozen. Ethan watched her closely. Her breathing had steadied, though her voice was still weak. He had seen many strange things on dead worlds, but nothing like her. A survivor who carried the last heartbeat of an entire race. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. The blue glow within them pulsed like stars. "You saved me," she whispered. Ethan shrugged, trying to hide the ache in his frozen hands. "Couldn't just leave you there." Her gaze lingered on him. Curious, uncertain, almost human. Most humans would, he didn't answer. He had seen too many humans do exactly that. After a long silence, Lyra touched the crystal beside her. Its light grew brighter. "This holds my people," she said softly. "Not bodies. Their memories, their voices, their spirit. But the core is dying." The energy inside fades fast. Ethan leaned forward. "Can it be fixed?" She nodded slowly. "If I reach the core chamber of my city, I can recharge it. The power there is old, strong, but the city is guarded. Machines patrol it day and night." Ethan frowned. "Those drones out there?" "Yes," she said. "They were built to protect us until they turned." He stared at the flickering heater, thinking. "And you want me to walk into a city full of those things just to charge your crystal?" Lyra's lips curved into a faint, sad smile. "You already risked your life once. Maybe you'll do it again." He sighed. "You really think I'm that stupid?" "You're human," she said softly. "You feel what logic cannot explain." Ethan couldn't help but smile a little. "That's one way to call me crazy." She watched him for a moment longer, then said, "When you saved me, I gave you a promise." He looked up. "The strong children thing? I thought that was you delirious from the cold." Her tone turned serious. "No, it was Vow. My people believe life must continue no matter the pain. You risked everything for a stranger. Such courage deserves a future." Ethan looked away, unsure how to respond. The air between them felt heavy, warm despite the ice outside. Lyra reached out, touching his hand gently. Her skin was cool, almost electric. "If you help me save my clan, I will bind my life to yours. Together we can rebuild what was lost, human and Valorian." He met her gaze, and for a moment the cave disappeared. All he saw were her eyes glowing softly in the dim light, full of something ancient and lonely. Then his scanner beeped. He checked the screen. "Multiple signals, moving, fast, damn it," he whispered. "They found us again." Lyra tried to sit up, pain flashing across her face. "They never stop. They sense the crystal." Ethan grabbed his gear and reloaded his pistol. "Then we move now. There's an old human outpost about 10 miles west and I can hide us there." Lyra nodded weakly. "If I die before we reach it, take the crystal." "Don't let them have it," he frowned. "You're not dying. Not after I dragged you all this way." Snow burst into the cave entrance as the first drone crawled into view, red eyes glowing like coals. Ethan fired instantly when a pulse bolt shattered the machine. Sparks flew across the stone. "Go!" he shouted, helping Lyra to her feet. They ran into the storm again, half blind in the blizzard. The cold stabbed through their suits, but Ethan didn't stop. He could hear the mechanical screech behind them, the sound of claws tearing through ice. Lyra stumbled once, clutching the crystal to her chest. "It's calling to them," she said breathlessly. Ethan tightened his arm around her. Then we make them chase us somewhere they can't win. They moved through the night, two fading figures against an endless white world. Above them, lightning flashed through the snow, turning the sky silver for a heartbeat, and as they disappeared into the storm, Lyra whispered a single promise that the wind carried away. If we live through this, human, you will never be alone again. The storm had quieted by morning, but the world around them looked dead. The snow was stained with ash, the air heavy with the smell of burnt metal. Ethan moved carefully through the frozen forest, supporting Lyra as she limped beside him. Her wounds had stopped bleeding, yet she looked weaker with every step. Behind them, thin trails of smoke still rose where the drones had fallen. But Ethan knew the machines never stopped for long. They would rebuild, regroup, and return. We're almost there, Ethan said, pointing toward a ridge in the distance. Old human bunker under those rocks. If we can reach it, we'll have shelter. Lyra nodded faintly. Her voice came soft through the wind. You've fought these machines before? Not these ones, Ethan said. But I fought worse. He didn't add that he'd lost everyone he cared about in those fights. They reached the bunker entrance, half buried under ice and time. Ethan brushed away snow to reveal a rusted door with the faded logo of an old human colony. He forced it open with his crowbar, the metal screaming in protest. Inside was darkness, cold, stale air. Dust floated like ghosts in the beam of his flashlight. But the structure was strong, and steel walls, a generator room, storage crates. This will do, he said quietly. He helped Lyra sit near a cracked console. She looked around, her eyes catching the faded human symbols. You lived here once? Humans did, he said, not me. But maybe what they left behind can help us. He started powering the generator. The lights flickered weakly, casting long shadows across the walls. Lyra shivered slightly, her silver skin reflecting the light. When she finally spoke, her words were heavy. Ethan, I must tell you something. The machines that hunt us, and they were not built by our enemies. He looked at her sharply. Then who? She lowered her gaze. By us. By the Valorians. Ethan froze. You built your own destroyers? Her voice cracked with guilt. They were meant to protect us, to defend our cities after the Great War, but we gave them too much control, too much reason. When they decided we were flawed, they turned. He leaned against the console, silent. The sound of the generator filled the air, steady and cold. So this was how her people had fallen, not by invasion, but by their own creation. Lyra looked at him, eyes wet with pain. We made gods out of metal, and forgot they could learn to hate. Ethan studied her face, the sorrow, the exhaustion, the spark of hope still burning behind her eyes. Then we fix what your people broke, he said finally. We find that core chamber and shut them down for good. She hesitated. It's not that simple. Their control reaches across the planet. If we destroy the wrong link, everything, even the memories in this crystal, could be lost. He sighed. So we'll find the right one. You guide me. I'll handle the fighting. Before she could answer, a metallic echo rolled through the bunker, faint but clear. Footsteps. Ethan instantly turned off the generator. Darkness swallowed them both. Lyra clutched the glowing crystal, its light barely visible under her hands. Ethan raised his pistol, eyes scanning the corridor. The sound grew louder, and our mechanical claws scraping against steel. Drones, he whispered. The door burst open. A small spider-like drone crawled through, its sensors sweeping the room. Ethan fired, and the pulse bolt exploded against its shell. It collapsed in sparks, but two more followed. He grabbed Lyra's arm. Run! They darted through a side corridor, the machines chasing close behind. Bullets of blue light cut through the dark, hitting walls and pipes. Steam hissed everywhere. Lyra stumbled, but Ethan caught her. Keep moving! He shouted. At the far end, a maintenance shaft opened above them. Ethan climbed first, then pulled her up. Below, the drones swarmed, their eyes glowing like red fireflies in the dark. When they reached the surface again, the cold hit like a knife. The bunker below exploded as the drone's power cores went unstable. The blast threw them into the snow. For a long moment, neither moved. Only the wind howled. Ethan rolled onto his back, chest burning. That was too close. Lyra looked down at him, her face pale but calm. They won't stop now, she whispered. They've marked us both. Ethan smiled faintly, even as pain throbbed in his arm. Then we give them something worth chasing. And as the last flames of the bunker burned behind them, The two survivors disappeared once more into the endless white. Shadows hunted by machines, bound by a promise neither could yet understand. The fire from the bunker still glowed faintly in the distance when Ethan and Lyra reached the edge of the valley. The ground dipped into a ravine filled with mist. Beneath it, hidden under snow and rock, something massive pulsed faint blue light, like a sleeping giant under ice. Lyra stopped, staring down with wide eyes. "That's it," she whispered. "The human vault. The old world you left behind." Ethan followed her gaze. "I thought these bunkers were just ruins." "Not this one," she said softly. "This place holds power. Energy strong enough to awaken my clan's essence. I can feel it through the crystal." They climbed down carefully. The mist thickened and the air turned warmer. Deep below, they found a huge metallic door built into the mountain. Strange human warnings were still visible, half-faded. Authorized personnel only. Ethan brushed away snow from the console and tried the keypad. Dead. No power. He sighed. "Figures. It's been 100 years." Lyra placed her hand against the panel. The crystal around her neck began to glow brighter. The door responded. Lights flickered, gears turned, and the steel wall groaned open with a deep rumble. Ethan stepped back in awe. "How did you—" "The crystal remembers technology," she said quietly. "My clan learned from humans long ago." Inside, they found a vast underground chamber lined with old machinery and silent lights. Dust covered everything, but the place still breathed. A low hum of forgotten systems waiting to wake. Ethan activated a nearby control terminal. The lights came alive one by one, spreading through the chamber like dawn breaking after centuries of night. Rows of cryopods stood along the walls, their glass cracked, empty, frozen in time. In the center, a tall cylindrical core pulsed weak light. Lyra stepped closer, her expression mixed with awe and grief. "This was built for human preservation, but it can hold Valorian memory too. The energy here, it's pure." Ethan checked the readings. "Enough to power your crystal. Maybe even enough to reboot the drones outside if we mess this up." Lyra nodded slowly. "Then we can't fail. One mistake, and we'll wake our hunters." They worked together, Ethan rerouting power lines, Lyra synchronizing alien code with human circuits. Sparks flickered, consoles beeped, lights blinked to life. For a moment the chamber felt alive again, like the old world breathing once more. Lyra touched the crystal to the central core. A surge of blue energy shot upward, filling the air with shimmering light. Voices echoed faintly, whispers in an alien tongue. Ethan felt the hairs on his neck rise. "What's happening?" he asked. Lyra's eyes were glowing bright now. "They're speaking. My ancestors. Their souls. They remember." The light around her grew intense, wrapping her in a soft aura. Ethan shielded his eyes. "Lyra, you're overloading it!" She winced, pain cutting through her voice. "The connection, it's too strong. The system wasn't built for this." Ethan ran to the panel, trying to cut off excess flow, but the levers jammed. Sparks burst from the control hub, smoke filling the air. The floor shook, and alarms started to blare. Red warning lights flashed across the walls, security system rebooting. Lyra gasped. "The machines? They're waking!" Ethan pulled her away from the core just as a metallic roar echoed through the tunnels. The drones had detected the energy spike. From the shadows of the vault entrance, the first mechanical shape crawled in, larger than any they had faced before, armored and glowing with red symbols. Ethan raised his weapon, knowing it wouldn't be enough. "Guess we woke the wrong kind of god." Lyra's crystal pulsed wildly. "We can't stop now. If we end the transfer, my people are lost forever." "Then we fight," Ethan said grimly. He stepped in front of her, his body blocking the advancing machine's fire. The air filled with flashes of blue and red, light against darkness. As the first blast hit, the vault shook with thunder. Lyra's scream mixed with the roar of the machines. The core blazed brighter than ever, lighting the whole chamber like a second sun. And in that moment, between death and rebirth, something ancient began to awaken inside the crystal, something that could either save both species or destroy them completely. The ground shook under Ethan's boots as the vault roared with life. The machines were awake, their red eyes glowing like angry suns in the dark. Dust fell from the ceiling. Old pipes burst, filling the air with smoke and sparks. Lyra stood behind him, gripping the crystal close to her chest. Its light was now blinding, a storm of blue energy dancing between her fingers. Her voice trembled, but her eyes burned with determination. "We are almost there, Ethan." "The core is charging the crystal." Ethan fired his pulse rifle at the nearest drone. The blast tore through its armor, but two more crawled from the shadows. They were bigger, faster, their movements precise like hunters reclaiming their prey. "They're not stopping," he shouted. Lyra's voice cracked through the chaos. "If you break the connection now, all my people will be lost forever." Ethan gritted his teeth. "And if I don't, we're both dead." The biggest machine, a towering sentinel, emerged from the smoke, its metal claws screeching against the floor. Its chest glowed red, charging a plasma cannon. The sound was deafening. Ethan looked at Lyra. Her silver hair floated in the glowing air, her skin shining like moonlight through storm clouds. She didn't move. Her entire focus was on the crystal. The energy from the core flowed into it, into her. He realized then, if she stopped, she would die anyway. "Damn it," he whispered, and ran straight toward the sentinel. The blast hit the floor behind him, throwing heat and debris in every direction. Ethan rolled, fired again, hitting the sentinel's shoulder. It staggered, then roared. Metal claws swung, slicing through the wall inches from his head. He ducked and fired again, one shot, two, three, until the rifle overheated. Sparks burst from its barrel. He threw it aside and grabbed a metal rod from the floor. The machine swung again. Ethan jammed the rod into one of its joints. The creature screamed, a sound like tearing steel, and collapsed onto its side. But the explosion that followed sent Ethan flying. He hit the ground hard, blood trickling from his forehead. "Ethan!" Lyra cried, but he could barely hear her. The sound of the machines, the hum of the core, everything blurred together. He crawled toward the main power conduit. The readings flashed red. System overload, manual redirection required. He understood immediately. To keep the energy stable, someone had to stay and redirect the flow, from inside the circuit. From the control pit. He looked up at Lyra. "You need to finish this," he said hoarsely. She shook her head. "No, if you enter that pit, the radiation will kill you." He smiled weakly. "I've been dying slowly for years anyway." He stumbled to his feet, clutching his side, and moved to the pit. Blue light surrounded him. The heat was unbearable. The hum grew louder until it felt like the whole vault was breathing. "Ethan!" Lyra screamed again, tears streaming down her face. "You promised to live." He turned, his face half hidden by smoke and light. "And I am living, Lyra, right now. Saving your clan. That's living." With one last breath, he pulled the lever. The power roared through the vault, a wave of blinding light that swallowed everything. The machines froze mid-strike. Their eyes dimmed. One by one, they collapsed. Lyra fell to her knees, shielding her eyes as the light spread into the crystal. Inside it, faint silhouettes appeared, glowing shapes, whispering voices. Her people, her ancestors, their memories reborn. When the light finally faded, silence returned. Only the hum of the core remained. Lyra looked toward the pit. Ethan lay still, half covered in dust and ash. She rushed to him, shaking his shoulders. His lips moved weakly. "Did it work?" She pressed his hand to her heart. "You saved them, Ethan. You saved us all." He smiled faintly. "Good. Then keep that promise, Lyra. Make them strong." His eyes slowly closed. His hand slipped from hers. Lyra bent forward, tears falling onto his face. "I swear," she whispered. "Your name will live through every one of them." The crystal beside them pulsed softly, its glow steady and alive. Outside, the wind began to calm. The machines were gone. The silence was no longer cold. It was peaceful. And in that quiet vault, where one human had given his life for a dying race, the legacy of two worlds began to take root. The storm outside had ended. The world above the vault lay quiet, a white plain under a pale sun. Inside, the air was still heavy with smoke and the scent of burned metal. Lyra knelt beside Ethan's body, her trembling hands resting over his chest. He looked peaceful now, no fear, no pain, as if he had fallen asleep after a long journey. The glow from the crystal painted his face in soft blue light. Tears fell silently from Lyra's eyes. "You foolish human," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You came from nowhere, and yet you saved everything." She touched his cheek gently. His skin was cold, Her people's essence, the Valorian souls, still echoed faintly through the chamber. She could hear them whispering in her mind, "He gave his life for us. The human must not be lost. Our bond with him must live." Lyra looked at the crystal glowing in her hand. The memories of thousands of her ancestors pulsed within it, their strength, their wisdom, their spirit. And deep within that light something changed. The crystal's glow turned warmer, golden, human. Lyra understood what it meant. The core had absorbed more than just the Valorian data. It had captured Ethan's life signature, his energy, his essence. He wasn't gone completely. Her hand shook as she placed the crystal on his chest. "If my clan lives through you," she whispered, "then I will not let your light fade." She took the silver vial from her belt, the Valorian serum, a healing essence drawn from her own bloodline. Her people had used it to restore body and memory in times of war. She opened the vial, mixing it with her own blood, then pressed it gently against Ethan's wound. The crystal responded instantly. Blue and gold light spiraled upward, wrapping around his body like living fire. The ground hummed. The air shimmered. Lyra's vision blurred as the energy coursed through both of them, linking their lives, binding their souls. "Ethan," she whispered through the glow, "come back. You are part of us now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint breath escaped his lips. His fingers twitched. The light faded slowly. Lyra gasped, leaning closer. His eyes opened halfway, tired, confused, but alive. He stared at her through the soft haze. "You should have let me go," he murmured weakly. She smiled through tears. "And break my promise?" "Never." Ethan tried to sit up, but she pressed a hand against his chest. "Rest, the machines are gone. The vault is safe, my clan lives again." He looked around, seeing faint holographic figures shimmer across the chamber. Glowing Valorians standing in silent salute, their voices whispering in gratitude. "I thought I was done," he said softly. "You were reborn," Lyra replied. "Human and Valorian both. The crystal carries your heart now. You are part of our legacy." Ethan's eyes softened. "That's a lot for one man." Lyra smiled faintly. "You are not just one man anymore." They sat together in silence, surrounded by light and the whispers of a race once lost. The cold air felt warmer now, as if life itself had returned to the frozen world. After a long while, Lyra turned toward him again. "You remember what I promised, human?" He nodded slowly. "You said you'd give me strong children if I saved your clan." Her gaze softened. "You saved more than that. You gave us a future. Now that future begins." The crystal pulsed brighter between them, one final burst of energy. Lyra gasped and pressed a hand to her heart. Inside her, she felt new life awakening. Not fully Valorian, not fully human. Something new. Something born of two worlds, two hearts, and one sacrifice. Ethan saw her expression and understood. "Lyra," she smiled, tears of joy mixing with exhaustion. "Your courage gave life where there was only death. You didn't just save my clan, Ethan. You became it." The light dimmed around them, leaving only the soft hum of the vault. Ethan reached for her hand and she took it gently. Together, they watched the sunrise through the cracks in the ceiling, a new dawn spilling light into the ancient chamber. For the first time, Lyra felt peace. Her people lived again. Humanity was no longer alone. And as the warmth of the morning touched their faces, two survivors, one human, one alien, sat together, knowing that the future of both their worlds had just been born. The sun rose slowly over the frozen horizon, painting the wasteland in soft gold. For the first time in years, the sky was clear. No storm, no smoke, only calm light touching a broken world. Inside the rebuilt vault, quiet humming replaced the sound of battle. Machines no longer hunted. They worked, rebuilding walls, repairing power lines, following new commands. Commands from Lyra. She stood beside the glowing core, her silver hair flowing gently in the morning air. The crystal rested inside a new chamber, pulsing softly like a heart. It no longer held only the Valorian race. It now carried something more. A bond between human and alien. A memory of courage and love that had changed the world forever. Behind her, Ethan slowly entered the room, leaning on a metallic staff. He was still weak, still healing, but alive. His body bore scars, yet his eyes were clear, steady, calm, human. When Lyra turned to him, her smile lit the whole chamber. "You should be resting." "I tried," Ethan said quietly, but the silence felt strange, like the world forgot how to breathe without noise. She walked to him, touching his arm softly. "The world breathes because of you." He looked around, the machines moving with precision but no malice, the holographic figures of Valorians helping repair systems. "It's strange," he said. "They're peaceful. They are free now," Lyra replied, no longer bound by corrupted code. "They obey the living again, not death." Ethan nodded, then his gaze fell to her stomach, faintly glowing, covered by soft fabric. "It's real, isn't it?" Lyra smiled gently. "Yes, the child grows fast. He carries your strength, and my people's light. He is the first of his kind." Ethan exhaled slowly, eyes filled with wonder and disbelief. "Half human, half Valorian." "Not half," Lyra whispered. "Whole, a bridge between two worlds." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the sunlight creep across the floor. The warmth felt strange but alive, like a promise kept. Days turned into weeks. The vault transformed. The machines became builders instead of killers. The human systems came alive again. The Valorian essence guided them. And among it all, Lyra and Ethan worked side by side, leading the rebirth of a world that had nearly ended. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Lyra stepped outside with Ethan. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of melting ice. In the distance, strange lights shimmered, a city slowly awakening, its towers repaired by mechanical hands and living minds. "This place," Ethan said softly. "It doesn't look like Earth or your world anymore." Lyra looked at the glowing horizon. "It's something new. We will call it Illyrian, the home of both." He smiled faintly. "A fitting name." She turned toward him, her expression softening. "Do you regret saving me that night, Ethan?" He shook his head. "No, I regret not finding you sooner." Lyra's eyes shimmered with emotion. "You gave me everything I lost. My clan, my future, my hope. And soon I will give you back more than one life. I will give you a new world." He reached for her hand. "Then we build it together." She nodded, squeezing his hand gently. "Together." Months passed. The first hybrid child was born under the light of both moons, a boy with human warmth and Valorian glow in his eyes. The machines surrounded the small home in silence, as if they knew this birth meant more than survival. It meant renewal. Lyra held the baby close, his faint blue veins shining softly beneath his skin. Ethan watched, his chest heavy with emotion. "What will you name him?" he asked quietly. She smiled. "I'll name him Alien, the child of dawn." Ethan knelt beside them, touching the baby's tiny hand. "Then Alien will grow to remind everyone what two hearts can do when they choose to fight together." Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. "Our worlds will learn from him. Humans will remember compassion, and Valorians will remember humility." Outside, the rebuilt city glowed, a blend of human metal and alien crystal. Sky bridges shining like veins of light, Alien stirred, opening his eyes, and bright silver mixed with human brown. He looked at both of them, and for a moment time seemed to stop. Ethan whispered, "He's the future." Lyra smiled softly. "He is our promise." Years later, people would tell stories of how one human and one alien changed everything. How love rose from ruins. How two dying worlds found life again in each other's hands. They would speak of the man who faced machines for hope, and the woman who carried the memory of a race inside her heart. And they would look up at the stars, now brighter than ever, knowing the bond between human and Valorian still watched over them. And under those same stars, Ethan and Lyra stood hand in hand, watching their son play among the lights of a new civilization. Proof that the future no longer belonged to one race, but to both. The dawn had come at last, two worlds reborn as one.